logic board is out. That looks lovely. This looks like crap.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Hi everybody, welcome back to the lab. Today we have a MacBook Air. This has sustained some liquid damage. The old owner took it to the geniuses, but they are booked out for 3 weeks. It happens. So he took it to an authorized repairer and he's put an insurance claim in on this MacBook. I assume it's beyond economical repair. So how bad is the damage? Let's check it out. Let's see if we can fix it. Right, let's make a start and we'll see what's happening with this MacBook. This MacBook is a 13-inch 2015 Air. The logic board is an 820-00165 for technicians playing at home. We've had all sorts of fiddly fingers in here. We've had the authorized repairer in here, just assessing the MacBook, and basically that's passed on to the insurance company, and then the new owner gets a brand new MacBook. And the old owner has had a bit of a stroke of genius. He's actually injected PCB or printed circuit board cleaner around the board area here. It hasn't cleaned it, but because it's isopropylene alcohol based, if there's any water in this area here, it's been absorbed by the isopropylene alcohol. So no further damage has occurred, which is good. Let's plug it in and we'll see what's happening. Just apply a little bit of power. We don't have our charge indicator light, which is part of the one-wire circuit. It gives us a status. Green means it's fully charged. Orange means the battery needs a bit more charging. We'll just watch our fan here, and we can see it's stalled slightly. And here. So it looks like it's powering up and powering down. So we'll just cut the power to it. Unplug that charger. Now, most technicians would go charging in here with the old multimeter or with a circuit diagram and start testing test points. Let's just take the simple approach here today. Let's just not rush in. So obviously we've got it powering up and powering down. Now we know it's sustained water damage. So we can assume that there could be still a little bit of water damage around this MacBook. There could be a short circuit or anything like that causing this to power up and power down the MacBook, and you can see that because the fan was spinning and it stalls and it starts spinning again. Let's take the simple approach, and we do this through a process of isolation. So the fastest thing to test to see if it's causing the fault is let's just whip the battery out. So we'll just quickly do that. So this is our old battery. I'm just going to push it aside, and we have a test battery. So we'll just pop this in, and plug in the power. We'll drop a screw in the center. Sometimes when people fault find, they just get all complicated and they just go too deep into the fault. Whereas, simple things such as changing your battery over only takes 60 seconds, and it can really save you, chasing your tail. We'll plug him back in and we'll reapply power. And we can see we've still got no light here, and we've got some fan spin, and we hear a chime. So that's one fault gone. We know it's the battery playing up, but we still have a fault here. Our light hasn't popped up. The next area we'll quickly focus on is this ribbon cable here, and that just sends data and power between these two boards, this being the main motherboard or logic board side, and this being the DCM board. And this cable is just a bundle of wires, and it transfers across ground, power, the one wire circuit, which is the circuit which tells this light whether to go green or orange or whatever the case may be. It also carries speaker, because we have a speaker connector here. It also carries USB data because we have our USB socket here, and we need to get that information back to the logic board. So this is just a simple cable that pops up, and what happens is when you get water damage, we usually get water that sits underneath this connector here or underneath this connector here, and it can actually trash this cable. So what we'll do is we'll pop him up, just put our spudger under that side there, put our spudger under that side, and what we'll do is we'll have a look at these two connectors under the microscope to see if they have any water damage. We can see our left side connector here. This is on the DCM board, and we can see a little bit of corrosion here from maybe a little bit of water, but if we have a look at these pins here, they're all nice and shiny or new, and then the pins on the side are all shiny. So this connector hasn't been affected by water whatsoever. If we have a look at this connector here, all the pins are shiny on the outside, so there's no water damage there. But if we have a look in here, things are still shiny, but we have a little bit of tarnishing around the center here. So with a little bit of tarnish and corrosion, these pins will not make contact properly. But we can quickly fix that with some alcohol and Mr. Toothbrush. And if we have a look here, that's cleaned those pins up quite nicely. So if there's tarnish on the plug on the actual logic board itself, we'll have a look at the ribbon cable to see how much damage there is. This is a corresponding plug which attaches into the logic board here, and we can see a heavy amount of damage here, and this is through water corrosion, and this is just water sitting in or near the plug, and we can see these pins are tarnished as well. So this cable, ribbon cable, is absolutely stuffed. We're not going to try and repair it because ribbon cables are fairly cheap to replace. They're only like $10 or $15. So let's just put in a brand new ribbon cable and we'll see what happens. Right, we have our brand new ribbon cable here. As I said before, this is only a $5 or $10 item. So we'll just lock it in here. And we'll lock that in this side. We've got our charger plugged in, so we'll just apply some power. We'll see what happens. We've got fan spin. We also have a light here. You may not be able to see that. And we have a chime. So we've diagnosed this for about 5-10 minutes, and we've got it to boot. Now we've got the MacBook booting properly. What we need to do is strip it down and just clean up any further damage. So we'll rip into that next. We will whip off this heatsink assembly here because we want to check underneath for any water damage. Usually when we take the heatsink off, it's got a little bit of grab because it's got some heatsink adhesive between itself and the processor underneath, and we'll flip it up. Oh dear, that's not good. We're meant to have some paste here and here. So our heatsink assembly wasn't really doing its job at all. And I've just noticed another thing. Normally, we are meant to have a small bracket here to attach a heatsink to the actual body of the MacBook itself, and that helps dissipate heat, and that bracket has completely sheared off. So this heatsink was absolutely useless. It was pretty much basically doing nothing. So we're going to have to arrange a brand new heatsink and yeah, go forward. Right, we'll have a look around the logic board with the microscope, and if you can see this connector here, this is the one, this is the end that had all the corrosion, and that's all been cleaned up well, so it looks like water has dropped in this area here, but everything else looks clean. So we'll go for a bit of a look around the board. It looks like we have some slight water here that's been sitting on the board. So what we might do is we'll check the ribbon cable that connects into this connector. We have some slight corrosion here. It's a little bit of tarnish. It looks like some damage up around here. What we might do, these cables are fairly cheap. They're only like $10 each. So we'll replace the keyboard and mouse cable, and that should give it a little bit more reliability. This is our connector for our screen, and as we see here, it's pretty much clean, and these components here are part of the backlight circuit. That's what gives you the glow behind the LCD screen, and that looks pretty clean as well. So there's been no water that's dropped in this area here either. This little diode here is another Achilles heel of the MacBook. If you ever have any water damage, always check this diode here, and that's because when water is spilt, a little water droplet will wrap itself around this diode and actually trash it. So the good news is this diode, it's a 6.8 volt Zener diode, part of a clamping regulator assembly, is all clean. While we are also inspecting the board under the microscope, we have a look underneath the odd chip as well. We're having a look underneath the backlight chip, and this is what drives the backlight behind the LCD screen, which makes your screen brighter and duller. And we're having a look at the balls underneath this chip, and we can see it's a little bit fuzzy in this area here. The problem is, because this board has been cleaned, we actually don't know where the water's gone. So water might have gone underneath this chip. So what we might do as a precaution, because it's a backlight chip and it handles about 28 or 30 volts, that is susceptible to a lot of damage if water gets underneath. So we might, as a precaution, rip up this chip and replace it. It's only like a $5 item. To be sure, and we'll make sure this MacBook is fixed properly. We can see our pads are fairly well clean here, and the most critical pad is the feedback pad, and that's this one located here. And if we have a look to the left, we can see the brand new backlight chip, and that just plops on to that pad, and you can see all the balls there. We throw down a bit of flux and we superheat that chip, and it will bond to the board, making, with all the balls making contacts to all those pads. So what we'll do is we'll get out our heat gun and we'll put the brand new chip onto the board. Give it a bit of a bump, bounces back, and all the balls are melted underneath. We'll just let that cool off now. We just have a few furry bits. So we'll drop it in the isopropylene bath and we'll give it a bit of a scrub. Right, we have our bath here, so we'll just put our board in. We'll pour in just enough alcohol to clear the board. Lovely. We'll give it a good old scrub. Get our little soft bristle brush. Get in between all those components. Get rid of any fuzzy bits. Let's give it a spin. Okay, it's had a couple of minutes, so we'll just stop it. That should be good enough. Always get little rubber bits that fall off the board. They're not critical. Let's give that a bit of a shake. And nice and clean. And we'll put that outside to dry. We managed to get another heat sink. And this time it has the bracket on it. And I've just quickly put down some more heat sinking compound. And we've just put in our screws. And now we're going to do a final tighten up. Work on our opposites. Not too tight. Lovely. We're all done. Our board is clean. We've got a brand new heatsink there. And we'll be putting everything back together. Before we put everything back together, this is our DCM board. So we'll just quickly clean that up with Mr. Toothbrush. And it looks all clean. But if we have a look here, you'll see two black marks. And this is arcing. We'll have a look at this under the microscope. And if we have a look under the microscope, we can see our 5 pins here. I think the two outside ones are ground, and these two here are positive, and this is our 1Y pin, but these 2 pins here have been arcing out and have caused char marks. So what we'll do is we'll put this DCM board in the pile to be fixed, and we'll replace it with another DCM board with a better plug. Okay, here's our replacement DCM board, and if you have a look here around the connector where we put the charger in, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clean pins. So we'll just clean that up, but this is the difference between doing a shit job in a MacBook and doing the proper job. So we'll replace that DCM board and we'll clean it up and we'll get in there. Give it a bit of a scrub. The great thing is today's a pretty hot day in Canberra, Australia. It's about 30 degrees Celsius. So that's what's 9/5 of 30, which is 54, plus the 2, which is about 86 Fahrenheit. And the great thing is, because it's so warm and dry, things dry really quickly. We'll just clean up the end of this plug, get rid of all that crap. Lovely. It's all ready to go in. Now we will put in our brand new ribbon cable to replace the old dodgy one. Put that there. lock that in there. We're now going to put in our brand new mouse and keyboard ribbon. This one here. These can be a bit of a bugger to get in. So open our latch, push down slightly, and lock it off. Now we do the other end. Push him home. Drop the latch. We have everything back together again, and we have a battery here. This is a second-hand battery. This has got 338 cycles on it, so it's still got a lot of life left in it. So what we'll do is we'll just pop this in. We'll attach our battery connector. The next question is, will it start? Winner, winner, chicken dinner. This is a situation where everyone wins. The old owner gets a new MacBook from the insurer. The repairer makes money from assessing the dead MacBook and selling a new one. But the best part of all is a survivor of domestic violence gets this upcycled MacBook for free. It's a new start for these survivors of domestic violence. It's an opportunity to further their education, and it's a free upcycled MacBook to help them on their journey. All donations are pushed out via Give It, so check them out. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like the content, subscribe or share. Also, don't forget to check out our social media. And my question to you is, what have you fixed recently? Could be a fence paneling, door handle, anything. Leave those comments down below. Other than that, hooroo, and we will see you next time in the lab.